Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on this Christmas Eve edition of Sports Live. Now, sport climbing debuted at the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo, Japan. There was only one event in Tokyo that included boulder, lead and speed. Boulder and lead athlete Lauren Mukba is a two-time African champion who recently qualified for the 2024 Paris Olympics in France. She is now joining us via Zoom. Lauren, thank you so much for making time. Happy Christmas Eve. I already see that you are clad out in your Christmas Eve shirt.
Yes, I am.
And firstly, congratulations. It must feel incredible and amazing to know that you have now booked your ticket to Paris next year. How is it feeling exactly?
I still feel like I'm living in a dream, but I'm very happy and all my hard work has paid off.
Now, for some people who, maybe the layman who doesn't understand what sport climbing exactly is, take us through the sport, the disciplines that are involved in the sport and how points are allocated as well.
All right, so in climbing, there are three disciplines. The first one is lead, where you climb up a route, up a 16-meter wall, and you're harnessed in with a rope, and you have to clip as you go. The higher you get on the climb, the more points you are awarded, and the climb is out of 100. So the highest point you can get for lead climbing is 100, and typically people get quite high on these climbs, typically. It's very endurance-based. It's lots of strength as well, coordination, very, very, very endurance-based. Then there is bouldering, which is short walls about 5 to 6 meters high, very dynamic climbing. And you have 4 minutes to climb each boulder, and you do 4 boulders. And in these boulders, each boulder is 25 points. So the boulder round is out of 100. And yeah, every climb you do, every attempt you make on these climbs, in which you have 4 minutes to do it, you minus 0.1 of a point. So as such, if you take 2 attempts, you'll get, for the whole boulder round, you'll get 99.9. And it's also out of 100. And then they combine those two disciplines together to make a combined discipline, which is then out of 200. And the highest point wins. For speed climbing, it's a little bit different. The route is universal. So everybody around the world trains on the same speed wall. And it's also about 16 meters high. And it's the fastest person who gets up the wall who wins.
So you've now opted to go with 2 of the disciplines of the 3. How were you able to select those? Is it maybe a coaching also addition to it, where you actually assess what kind of discipline you can actually implement well?
Personally, I don't like speed climbing. I find it quite boring. So as a result, I just picked the 2 disciplines that I like the most. And before my competition, where I got my ticket to the Olympics, I was pre-selected to join into that selection event. And I didn't actually get a choice whether I wanted to do all 3 or just the combined. And they put me in combined, which I was quite happy about.
So, but we know that in terms of sport climbing, it's not a popular sport in the country. So how did you make the decision to get into the sport?
It was actually one of my childhood best friends who introduced me to climbing. She took me to one of her climbing competitions and said, "Come watch me." I did not end up watching her. I just ended up on the wall for 4 hours straight. So, and ever since then, I just continued. All throughout high school, university, I've just continued to climb.
And for those who are going to be watching this interview, very interested in participating in the sport, would you say it's quite easy to get into? What are the requirements? Is it affordable? Is it an expensive sport to take part in?
It is quite easy to get into. It's not that expensive. It can be, but it's certainly not horse riding. I reckon you have to be quite dedicated and strong if you want to be a good climber. And the community is lovely, so if you're a chatty, outgoing individual, you'll fit right in. And even if you're not, I mean, that's okay too. There's lots of climbers that just go there and have fun and climb, and you just need some shoes and a chalk and harness and you'll be good to go.
And at the top of the interview, Lauren, we spoke about, the great news, the fact that you've qualified for the Paris Olympics next year. Talk us through that qualification process. Detail it for us. What did it actually entail?
So in order to be selected to compete in that selection event, I had to actually climb in national events. But thankfully, and because I was studying in Perth, the president of South African Climbing managed to push me straight through. So I was a already confirmed athlete to be participating in this selection event. And on the day, we had to compete in a semi-final round and a final round. Well, if you made finals, you competed in finals. Thankfully, I did. Where in semi-finals, we climbed 4 boulders and 1 lead route. And I managed to come second in the semi-final round. And then in the final round, same thing, 4 boulders, but they were different to the semi-final boulders and a different lead route as well.
Sure. And looking at, some of the countries that are also going to be participating, who are your strongest opponents?
To be honest, everyone. It's quite a tough field out there, especially for South Africans. The international standard of climbing is quite high. But I'm honestly just so proud to be there and climb against some of the best climbers in the world. I think it'll be really awesome.
All right. And maybe just as we wrap up, I'm pretty sure you've now set your targets for the Olympics next year. What do they look like?
Realistically, I'm hoping to come anywhere from 15th onwards. Okay. But obviously I want a podium.
That would be incredible. And I mean, it's Christmas Eve, we can tell Santa a little thing or two this evening. I do hope that you enjoy it. Thank you so much for chatting to us. And a huge congratulations on qualifying for the Olympics next year. All right. That is, of course, Lauren Mukba, who is a sport climber. She has successfully qualified for the Paris Olympics next year and will be participating in those 2 disciplines, that is lead and boulder.